Yo, what is up, everybody? Today's video is a beginner's guide. It's on the end of the week, and I'm gonna be doing usually a double feature beginner's guide, probably for Mondays, Sunday, Monday. Today's guide is about class roles and about the different things that a particular class is good at. I know I've been making a series about making alt paladins, so you would guess that paladins are the best, but really paladins are only like the best when it comes at very particular things like spamming Karya, because they're the only class that has soul, and you need soul in order to clear the last 3 statues. So unless they make a new dungeon like Karya where you don't need that, if you want to be farming free game money, outside of Legion events, then you're basically going to want to use a Paladin. Okay, so I'm going to decide to specialize this video a little bit, and I'm going to be bringing up a grid, and we'll be filling it out as we talk about each class. But let me just give you a little bit of an overview while I'm doing this boss hunting thing on my Paladin, actually. So my very first account is a warrior, okay? And warriors are not specifically damage dealers. However, there's a big difference between consistent or overall damage and then burst damage. For example, paladins are really good at burst damage, but they're really, really bad at sustained damage. To give a good example is if I were to cast all these 3 abilities right now, and I was in Mad City, for example, I'd probably be able to kill that boss long before somebody was ever able to reach me. Okay, you could probably do like a 150,000, 150 million damage burst. Okay, however, the problem is there's about a 30-second cooldown where you're basically doing almost no damage. Your Holy Judgment is good, but compared to like a Warrior's Chain Chop or a Mage's Tornado or anything else that has a really good sustained, or even the Necromancer's what is it, Spirit Pact Call thing or whatever it's called. We'll get into it later. Um, it's just really not that good. I've seen a lot of people who are um, paladins that brag about their DPS, for example. But if you were to look at like their tower ranking compared to other classes, so like if we go to, actually we can't because it's not open yet, but if I were to go into Sky Tower, right, the highest paladin is like floor 130 something on the server, okay? And we got people who are paladins that brag about like being 120 KK, but it's really not that high. It's that high in burst. So when they're killing at a boss, it's fine. But a good example of this is the Necromancer's highest floor is like 160. The Warrior's highest floor is like 155. The Mage's is like 160. It's really, really high, but the Paladin's only like 130 something. It's just because you can't do damage consistently with them outside of a cooldown. And that's just the way that class is designed. However, if you run into Red Abyss or you go into a PvP event, right, and you cast down your black hole, and you have that extra ability that silences the enemy players, you're going to get a whole bunch of free kills during that burst. You could probably run into a group of 10 people and cast all your abilities at once with your Phantom Pact and your Falling Star, and you'd probably be able to kill like 5 or 6 people. So they have pretty good utility and they have good burst damage. But if you want to go for DPS, it's actually pretty poor compared to other classes. Okay, and then if we're evaluating over, let's pretend a warrior, okay? My warrior is on the higher middle tier of DPS, and they're very good at utility, especially because they have an ability that actually heals you and your party that is not reliant on, it's not considered a real heal. So any basic healing can't be done in Ancient Tomb. A warrior's heal can work in Ancient Tomb. And if you upgrade the Fearless to Rampage, you're completely immune to all character control abilities, and if there's any damage ability that procs a control effect, they can't even cast it on you. So necromancers that almost have all of their abilities revolved around not only doing damage but doing some sort of status effect, they literally can't attack you. So I know a lot of necromancers that will try to kill me in Red Abyss or in certain PvP events, like Championship, and all I got to do to get past them is turn on Rampage and then spin past them, and they literally can't kill me. So, like, a warrior has really good utility and has decent DPS, but our crowd control, I don't know. I would say our crowd control is decent, but with Whirlwind, but that's just killing massive amounts of enemies at once. That's not really doing anything that has status effects. So I would personally say that a warrior probably has next to zero crowd control. Um, but I don't know. Maybe there's some. Oh, you know what? The what is that ability called? Let's look quick. This one, High Ray Leap, has a stun and a jump on the upgrade. So technically, this is crowd control, but it's very minimal. And I mean, it's good because if you were to upgrade it all the way and you were to have a 5-second stun, that's pretty big, okay? But it's long cooldown. There's only one, and it's a very limited crowd control ability, okay? So personally, I wouldn't really rank it that high. Now we go on to Mage. And remember, I'm going to be going through all the graphs on this as well soon. So, a mage, I would say, is more of like a DPS crowd control, but no utility. They don't have anything like a paladin where they can revive. They don't have anything that makes them immune. They just have a stun, so crowd control. They have something that anchors you in place. The tornado, crowd control. Okay. Their damage is pretty high. I think mages usually on tower are up there with necromancers. I think they actually surpass necromancers a little bit. And then they're also really good at basically AoE damage. So almost all their abilities do AoE. Warriors getting to that point now, other than the chain shop. A lot of their spells are AoE now, luckily. I would say everybody's like that though now, not with the new patches and stuff. Um, so I guess that's a pretty short one. I don't use Mage very much. Dragonite, um, they're interesting. Okay, Dragonite in a PK event. Okay, with all of its abilities casted like in Red Abyss. Okay, you're gonna hit them for like, I don't know, like maybe 80 to 500 damage. Like, it's really hard to kill them in like anything that's stat related, especially like Dragonite when they transform if they have their shield on. They have quite a bit of muting when it comes to the damage they take. However, they don't really do a lot of damage, and they don't have any PvP oriented crowd control. All of their things that are crowd control pretty much only affect instances. So if you were doing like I don't know, Felix Shine instead of Karia, a Shadow Knight would be really good because you don't have to worry about soul. And even though the things hit like 7,000 damage a hit, they're never going to be hitting you because you have so much CC that affects them, but not players. So they have really high crowd control. They have good utility, so like mid-tier utility, but their damage is really low compared to other classes, and they don't really have a whole lot of PvP utility. Actually, I would say that Dragonites are probably like the worst class right now, just overall. I mean, they're not terrible. They have a couple of decent abilities like that Phantom Strike thing, but it's kind of lacking. It's a little lackluster. And then now we finally have a Necromancer. Okay, Necromancers are like, they used to be the king, but now classes like Paladin and Warrior outdo them in specific areas, but all around they're still very good. Except they, like I said, they're very um uh they're very mana reliant, and they also have a little bit of a tendency to like have a have a mildly low cap off when it comes to DPS tracking. And what I mean by that is, let's pretend you're a warrior, and your warrior is doing Ancient Tomb and you're in Eternal Hell, or a Paladin, okay? And oh, no, how about Mage? And you were to get put in your jail. After you get out of your jail, you do your whirlwind or you do your little combo, and your damage will spike back up. Necromancers have nothing like that. So for every 1 minute that they're not clicking, that they're not casting, their damage takes a permanent dunk, and there's nothing burst or there's nothing cooldown. That's a major compensation for that. So Necromancers actually, I would have like the least DPS consistently, or the highest DPS consistency out of any other class, which is good but also bad. Like I said, if you're doing things where you're getting stuck in jails, like I've been in parties with necromancers that are doing like 54, 55 million DPS, okay? And by the end of it, they're only doing 28. And I'm not talking about like that quick burst you get in the beginning. I'm talking about every time they go into jail, they lose like 2 million DPS. And then they get put in the jail again if they're unlucky. They lose another 2 million DPS. And I know, for example, Miss Bones has like 46 million damage, okay? And when I was partying with her, she got jailed like twice in a row. And by the end of it, she was only doing 37 million because of those 3 jails. And me, on the other hand, I started off at like 35 million, and I got jailed twice, and I was at 34.7 million. Like, it barely took anything away because I was able to whirlwind back using burst damage to get my overall DPS a little higher again. And that's just not something a necromancer can do anymore. When it comes to the best, like safe environment, like Sky Tower, where everything can't trap you and stop you from dealing consistent DPS, necromancers are good. But the problem is with Glory Battlefield coming out, which is on the Chinese server right now, coming to the English server soon, and then the things like Evil Abyss and Eternal Hell, necromancers just really aren't the best anymore. They're still top tier. Like, if I had to put S tier, I would say S tier classes are Paladin, Warrior, and Necromancer. Okay, Warriors, through their ability to basically power through everything because of Rampage, really, and then they're able to keep a consistent DPS. They're able to make up DPS because of Whirlwind crits, and then Paladins, because, well, they have mana, soul, and HP, so they can basically do any dungeon. They have really high, incredibly high deep burst damage, so that makes them very ideal for doing like the world bosses and mini bosses shit, because like this, they can kill in 2 seconds casting 3 abilities. But as you see, once this fools down completely, we got about 17 seconds before I can do any major damage again. So, yeah, personally, the most people use paladins now, rather for Karya or because they revive. But most people use revive and resurgent mostly as troll items. Like, a lot of people know with my enemy 4, a big portion of that usage is simply, oh, I don't like you, I'm going to troll you, so I'm just going to go ahead and kill you, revive you, kill you, revive you. But it's not really doing anything that spectacular, honestly. So it's, if you want to troll people, Paladin's okay for that, but like I said, sustained DPS, not really. That's actually pretty good. I don't get rolls like that. I always get tenacity and stuff. When I literally didn't know this, but I think you have to use a Genesis fire in order to transfer, so I can't make this my minor and transfer like this. I don't know. We'll see at level 15, so I'll know in a day or two. But if that's true, then I have to take the jungle fires that I have, and I have to go build up a level 15 Genesis. That's weird to me, honestly. I don't know why the fuck they did it that way, but you know it's EO. They do a lot of weird shit, so probably gonna have to reinvest in a Genesis Fire for a whole week just so I can use it to transfer over the substats. It's annoying, but I'm pretty sure because my second slot one right now is where is it? This is mostly related into damage attack, and there's only one crit attack, and I have half the crit attack value and already about 10% more damage. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I got a 15% more crit attack, but once my actual attack is 30% higher, which right now it's not really 120. I don't know how you put it, maybe 10%. So once it gets to about 30% higher, it'll be worth it to switch it out. So maybe by the time, yeah, this is level 15. What else? Okay, so let's go into actual graphing while these things respawn. Okay, so let's do this as a visual representation, make it a little bit easier. So we got warrior, right? And warrior. So let's do this in like a green and make it a little brighter, and then maybe put the opacity down just a little bit. So like 75% opacity. Okay. If we were going to use a couple anchor points, I would say that the anchor points for a warrior is probably going to be here, very close to the. That's really 60% opacity. Probably around here. It's very low. They have a little bit. You know, it's not 0. Okay, so if you put a midpoint, like a black little dot. Okay, here, let's put a black little dot here. Put a black dot, and this black dot is 0 within whatever it is. If we were talking about warrior, maybe actually CC is here. It's very low. I feel kind of weird giving it. I guess that's acceptable. Okay. Now, if we were to go to, okay, let's overlap this. Okay, I forgot that's the way it works. Okay, so CC here, utility very high. I would say utility on a warrior is almost max. Okay, damage pretty high. I would say. Probably close to, like, this is the best damage in the whole universe. Probably say it's an 8 out of 10. So 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and there you go. We have our little drawn thing. So general. Oh yeah, shit. Let's put the opacity at 60% too. So there we go. We got warrior. Okay. Utility and damage is mostly what a warrior is about. Now, if we go to Necromancer, they have a very high amount of CC. I would say 9 out of 10. It's really high. They can CC almost everybody all the time. It's not a cooldown like a Paladin. They're almost always able to CC. Damage is a little bit less. Like I said, I explained why they have no burst. Now, like I said, in safe environments, it's at a 10. Like if you're talking about Sky Tower or anywhere where they're not personally being put under CC and they can just sit there and they can press a button down, they do great. But that's not really the way most PvP events work now. Like I said, they have fallen off a little bit. So I would give them probably about a 7 out of 10 in damage. And then they have I don't know, man. They got wizard, but that's about it. They don't really have a whole lot of utility. I would say, yeah, almost zero utility. So we got Necromancer here. Honestly, I'm surprised because it looks like a warrior does fulfill a little bit more role capacity than a Necromancer. But like I said, the CC is very important, and I think that this, in comparisons, makes it a lot more useful than people think. But like I said, they're just not number one anymore because they were number one for a very long time. And I think that Eudemons Online purposely kind of took away some of the um, overzealous amount of do it all the best that they did with the Necromancer. And then we do have, oh yeah, Vampire. Almost forgot about Vampire. Luckily, recovering it now. Okay. Okay. So we covered Necromancer. Now we got Shadow Knight. Now Shadow Knight, like I said, Shadow Knight is like mid-tier everything. So it's got 7 out of 10 utility, is 5 out of 10 damage. And if you're not talking about PvP, it would be here. But with PvP, it's probably just, I'd say mid tier. Okay, so we got Shadow Knight. Now, ask any Shadow Knight player. This is an accurate assessment. Almost nobody has a high-end Shadow Knight anymore. Most high-end accounts are Mage, Paladin, or Warrior, or Necromancer. Usually Necromancers, because they just built them back when they were the best, and they've kept their VP the whole. But most new accounts aren't Necromancer anymore. It's Paladin, Mage, or Warrior right now. Okay, so just man on everything. Not bad, not great, just man on everything. Now we got Mage. Now Mage is probably like the Necromancer, except a little bit better, a little bit worse on CC, but just barely. A little bit more on damage, and they got just a little tiny bit of utility. More utility than zero, so they got a little bit more utility than Necromancers, but not by much. I know from friends that have mages, they have some utility function, but it's minuscule. It's like just things that like counter like the attempt to do damage buffs, like when they have these charging element orbs and stuff like this. It's just minor shit like that. But it's some utility, Now, two classes I know, a class I know very well, obviously, Paladin. Like I said, Paladin's damage is 7 out of 10, not considering the burst damage. We're talking about overall and like the 6 minutes of an ancient tomb, right? Their CC, again, great when it's not on cooldown, but when it's off cooldown, it's schmeh. Okay, so we're gonna say this is more like mid-tier, like 6.5 out of 10. Okay, utility, very good. They have revives. They can revive Eudemons. They have a whole bunch of things that allow them to be very useful in events. Mostly revives and their soul points and stuff like this. So if you're talking about like dungeon utility, etc. So I would say their utility is near maximum, near the best it could be. So their triangle is very similar to Shadow Knight's, except just a little better. I would go as far as saying as the damage is, I don't know. I don't know if they quite have as much damage as Warriors. It's about the same. I'm saying like Warriors can't do as much burst damage as a Paladin, but if you put them in the same party for 10 minutes doing damage to something with all the things that happen, the Warrior is going to end up a little bit ahead, especially with what I've seen with Sky Tower. So I think this is pretty accurate. They got great utility, but everything else, man. Okay, now Vampire. Nobody uses Vampire except Goro. And the reason why is their damage is pretty good. Okay. Um, maybe better than warrior. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've heard their damage is the best in dungeons because it's both attack and M attack. Their utility, they have piercing, but that's more of just more damage stuff. Crowd control, I think they have like a break ability that allows them to like ignore certain effect things, but it's like a proc percentage. It's not like an ability like Rampage. So it's pretty inconsistent. And then utility is bottom two. So I would say, wait, say here, utility is very meh. And yeah, I think this is a pretty accurate assessment. So it really, like I said, the vampire is like the useless class equivalent to the Shadow Knight, except they only excel in the damage aspect, where Shadow Knights only really excel in mostly utility. Everybody has, like almost everybody who has alt accounts, they have a Shadow Knight to cast the buffs that you have. Okay, and they're really good at sharing defense and stuff like this. Vampires are like the same thing, except for damage. They can share out damage, blah, 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 blah. And so they're very good at dealing just damage, but I can't really think of a use for them outside of just doing like P5 quests and things that require both damage types. But like I said, now the problem is like you deal with warriors, right? Warriors, Whirlwind is like a pure damage. It does the same amount to anything. It doesn't change. So they're freaking OP when it comes to Whirlwind now. So like I said, a warrior outperforms a vampire by a large margin now. So that's why I said they're just very meh. So let's give a little bit of real world application to this. We still got a couple minutes left on the stream. So we finished out our little grid here. I won't be covering Ranger or Star Crusader yet. That's a new class coming out. I think that's probably going to be the name of it. Simply just because the update's not here yet. So I don't know where I am. Oh, I'm in Dark March. Okay, so let's go to Chronos. Let's give a little bit of a good example of this. So you will notice that because of the high burst potential of a Paladin, Paladins perform very good in quests because you don't need to do a lot of damage to kill the little mobs, and then by the time you're at the boss, right, you cast your little smear fest, and everything dies by the time the abilities are up, and then you don't get to the next boss until well after all your cooldowns are done. But in Ancient Tomb, they're very meh again, so we go to look at the leaderboard, and if we go look at King's ranking, we look at Warrior, okay? We got Childish, 160. Oh, what is that? 1.6 million, okay? We got Hina. Now, the thing is, there's not a lot of Warriors, so it's not very easy to compare this. Now, let's go to King's ranking, and let's go to Mage, okay? Mages are actually a lot lower than I thought. I thought they were going to be right up there with Necromancers. Okay, Paladin. Paladin will be really high because it's a really popular class. 4 and Beekeeper are the strongest DPS Paladins. But again, if you see Beekeeper or 4 and they're with Childish in Ancient Tomb, Childish does more damage because it's consistent. And then if they get stuck in a jail and they're not able to use Skyfall to get out of the jail on time, then they lose a big chunk. And then by the time they're waiting for their cooldown for the next burst damage, they do a pretty big job. King's ranking. Necromancer, this is the most common class. I wouldn't be surprised if they were the highest because there's the most characters for that, so the most potential to have the highest D-Fire. And we look at Vampire. So we look at Chival and Goro, and outside of their examples, which is around the same, like I said, a little bit better than Warrior, it's actually quite low. It just drops down. Now, if we look at Shadow Knight, probably going to be the lowest. Or no, it's the second lowest next to Warrior. Like I said, there's no Warriors on this server, but I have looked at people that have the exact same D-Fire when I looked at the rankings and I compare, so we'll do that now on D-Fire, and you'll notice that the Warriors and like certain classes with identical D-Fire, they score a lot higher. Like I said, it's just there is no. I think the highest D-Fire for a Warrior on this server is Childish, and it's only like 25k. And the highest overall D-Fire on the server is like 30k. Okay, so it's a really big margin difference, and he still scores that high. Now we look at Rangers. I know we're not covering them today, but you know, it looks like Rangers are absurdly high when it comes to DPS. That's 3 million almost. But I can't really comment too much about it because I haven't studied the class yet enough. But I've heard outside that fact that Reddit is a personally strong one. I'm not quite sure how their overall ranking is. So let's go to Divine Fire. And let's go at ranking. So I'm 72 in rank, very low in rank. Doesn't really matter too much anymore. So let's go find someone around my rank. So I'm 72. Okay, now let's look at Madara. Now he has the same D ranking almost, and he is a Necromancer. So let's go to King's ranking. No, Warrior. Now I haven't done Warrior this week yet, but it's 602,000. Now this was done 2 weeks ago. My damage has gotten higher since then, so we'll see if Madara has done it yet. So Madara has. He just did it, and he got 860,000. But Kamasutra, who has the highest D-Fire on the server, is only at 1 million. So not really sure here how to interpret that. Like I said, I don't think. Okay, let's look. Let's see if I lag. If I lag, then I lag. If not, I not. Okay. So we're gonna go. Go to area. Now I don't know what like I said, I don't know how much damage I'm actually gonna do, but we're just gonna go for it. Now also my pets are very off. You know, I only have one strong pet, the other two are just very meh. And the one strong pet I do have, I do use BP gifts on, so there's a little bit of displacency here. Like I said, we're trying to like there's so many factors that go into damage overall that it is very hard to specify things like this, because if somebody has a Ruby and they have a Lori and they have a Tifa, those are their 3 pets, their DPS is going to be fucking ridiculous, especially if they're all maxed out on their main attributes. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But I would like to see how high my DPS is going to be right now, despite the fact that I only have Hellfires equipped right now. My Hellfire is the same as Madara's, and I'm working with a Panda and a Lantern as my secondary DPSers. So, like I said, this will be a good little bit of information for everybody. And then I will be doing my next part of the beginner's guide, which is going to go over how to stat particular characters, and that's going to be done later tonight, probably in about 4 or 5 hours. I want to be able to do a little bit of grinding for the companion lavender, but after that, we're going to do part 2. Talking for beginner's guides, Jesus. And I'm like almost done with my antibiotics. I have another day, so my mouth is just starting to loosen up just a tiny bit. Not by much though. Oh, and then I skipped that. Oops. I'm really hoping it'll let me swap this because I don't know. I think that's kind of ridiculous if I have to have a Genesis stone as a mediator, so I have to swap to a Genesis and then swap it back again. That's just kind of weird. I hope they don't make me do that. Honestly, I do find that a little stupid. But yeah, this game is famous for its interesting ideas, so we'll see. I won't know until a couple of days. Oh man, I'm tired all of a sudden. Jesus. Antibiotics have helped me get a little bit less pain, but I'm through that like the final 2 days, so I'm just like constantly tired now. Sucks. I could probably sleep another 5 hours, and I don't really want to though. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag too. I'm not sure what my damage is gonna be. Eh? What? How is it so low? Whoa. That's so low. What the fuck? Is my loyalty low? Oh yeah, 122. So my loyalty is just really low on the one character. Is it low on Oni? It is. Okay, so shit, my loyalty was low as fuck. Okay. Whatever, that's about a 20% damage difference. So actually I think I would have been about 700,000. I mean, that's still not gonna beat Madara, but Madara is using a Monkey King and Ruby, so I think my damage is actually pretty good compared to his, considering those two factors. All right. I don't know. I don't want to keep these beginner guides too long, considering the fact that I'm just trying to cover some basic information with this. So I'll probably call that a video, and then we'll get a little bit more in depth with. I'll start with Warrior because that's my class, and then we'll go to Paladin the next video of the next week, and blah blah blah. So all right, I'll see you guys later for the beginner tutorial in a couple hours. I hope you guys have a good day, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Laters!